Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Synth duo.
Parallel, 1987. Juno 6, CZ1000.
Parallel was a synth duo, me and my old buddy Matt Black. We played synth hits from the time like the Pet Shop Boys, Harold Faltermeyer, Jean-Michel Jarre, Jan Hammer, that kind of stuff. But we also had a comedy element to our shows. We did fun and wacky challenges like who can play the most songs in 1 minute, dueling pianos and all sorts of wacky stunts. Now, I don't have any photos of the band from the time, but Matt Black is still going strong as a solo comedy pub piano performer. If I can find a video of him, I'll put it in to the video right now.
Thank you. Any fans of Elvis? Well, you won't like him after this. And I could have cried. It was after the meal at the end of the night, but I fell asleep and the face fell right in the ghetto.
Strange Brew, 1989, D10.
Now, we've talked about Strange Brew before on the channel. This was a rock band, a cover band that I played with when I was a youngster. And I was actually the youngest in the band and therefore the butt of all of the practical jokes. For example, after a gig in London, the guys threw me out of the van in the middle of the red light district in Soho. They did come and pick me up after they drove around the block, but that left me scarred for life. But oh, how they laughed.
Hazel O'Connor, 1988, D10.
So the next band I played with was not Hazel O'Connor, but we did perform one of her songs. I think the song was called I Stay, We Stay, I'm not sure, we'll put it in the video here.
You drink your coffee and I sip my tea.
Yes, that song. Now, this was a band I played with for a very short time, just some rehearsals, and it sticks in my mind because the female lead singer was a witch. Yes, I kid you not, a real witch. This was a woman that was practicing witchcraft on the south coast of England. And this may be my memory playing tricks with me, but I seem to remember that she had a small zoo inside the house full of these exotic animals, toads, newts and other reptiles that she presumably used to make her spells. Now, her husband played the saxophone. He played the lead solo on that song. But I was never sure if he was a wizard or any kind of warlock.
Jumping Jimmy Thunder, 1988, Roland D10.
I was honoured to play in Jumping Jimmy Thunder's backing band. So who exactly is Jumping Jimmy Thunder?
To finish this series of Artbeat, we visit the world of the pub entertainer with a remarkable tale from Weymouth. To be billed as the worst rock and roll singer in the world is one thing, well, to enjoy the title is quite another. But then Jumping Jimmy Thunder is quite a man, especially when his daytime job is a litter picker. So, for our last item, we take off to Weymouth to investigate this phenomenon. From me, it's good night.
Fame doesn't seem to affect Jimmy. It doesn't go to his head. He signs postcards, car stickers, T-shirts, appears on videos, perfectly unaffected by it all. He seems to be able to accept it. Doesn't get big-headed.
Why is he so popular?
Dick and the Swingers, 1990, D10, R850.
So this band was a spin-off from the strange Brew band that I previously played in. It consisted of me rocking the real-time arranger, there was Pete on vocals, and Gary, who was the bass player in Strange Brew, was playing lead guitar. But the reason I bring this band up really is the awesome band name, probably the best band name I've ever heard.
Spies Like Us, 91, Roland D70.
I played in this band for many years, and we played hits of the 80s that everybody had forgotten, like Madness, Squeeze, The Specials, The Jam, and I've forgotten the others. But we were quite popular, and we played in the Golden Triangle on the south coast of England, between Exeter, Plymouth and Swanage. And as a matter of fact, we were really huge in Swanage. We were probably the best cover band that Swanage had ever seen in 1992.
Don't remember the name, 1998, Roland XP10.
So after moving to Sweden, I joined a ska band, which is quite remarkable in itself. But there are three things that stick out in my memory. One, it's very boring playing ska music on keyboards. Two, we used to play in either a morgue, a mortuary, or an undertaker's office. I don't know what it was, but the rehearsal room was under the ground and it was lined with coffins, but there were no dead people inside anyway. Three, when I asked the singer what he did for a job, he told me that he was an adult movie performer. Yes, so I asked the other guys in the band if this was true, and yes, he was indeed a porn star. And he invited me along to one of these Swedish movie shoots, but I declined, which is probably one of my life's regrets.
Steward, 2002, Nord Electro.
The next band I played with were called Steward. And the reason I bring them up in this video is because they were exceptional. Actually, seriously, these guys were very, very good. They wrote original material in the style of Curtis Mayfield, so it was a bit of a neo-soul, acid jazz vibe, but they were exceptional songwriters, great musicians, and good looking. Of all the people I've played with, these are the ones I just cannot understand why they didn't make it big. In fact, they were so good that at the end of the video, I'll play you a couple of their tracks.
Soulgasm, 2003, Nord Electro.
The next band I played in was a pretty run-of-the-mill soul band, playing disco, soul, R&B hits. They were pretty good, but I noticed that they were doing 20 rehearsals for every gig, so I left. But they're still going strong. They seem to be doing better without me.
Jazzed Friends, 2005, Nord Electro, Yamaha P80.
Next, I played in an amateur jazz band, a very, very amateur jazz band. We played for 5 years in a basement. We played for 5 years in a basement cellar, but they did let us out on one occasion so that we could do a birthday party for my mother-in-law.
Extension, 2010, Court Performer Bass, EBS Amps.
The last band I played in was called Extension, and they were a rock band, just like the very first band that I played in. The difference here is that I was playing... For fuck's sake, can you shut up? The difference is that this time I was playing on the bass guitar, but we were playing very many of the same songs that I played with Strange Brew 30 years earlier on the keyboards. In some way, it feels like a fitting end to my musical career. The circle is complete. Oh, fuck, that hurts. So, what have we learned from all of this? Probably nothing. But a couple of reflections that I had. I've never been a pro musician. Obviously, you realise that after seeing me perform and hearing me talk about my musical career to date. But I have been a semi-professional, and at the peak of my career, I was gigging 4 or 5 nights a week and earning pretty decent money. Probably just as much as I was earning in my day job. So, what's the moral of the story there? I don't know, but paid for the gear anyway. Secondly, I've always been a minimal gear guy. You've probably noticed that most of my rigs only had one keyboard, apart from the very first one. And then you needed to have two keyboards because each keyboard could only do one sound. But since the D10, I've discovered that all of the keyboards have... fucking hell. You've probably also noticed that many of my keyboard rigs are very, very minimal, and that's because I don't like to lug gear around and I like to keep my rig as simple as possible. Most modern keyboards have splits and layers, so I've never really seen the need to have multiple keyboards with me. Another thing is that when I was gigging with the soul band, although those covers required strings, synth leads and all sorts, I did everything using the Nord Electro and replaced the sounds on the record with either the Hammond or the Rhodes. And I think that's quite nice. It doesn't have to be the same as the original. Find your own voice. And the third point is probably the most important one. What was it? Yeah, that's right. Playing in a band is probably the most fun you can ever have. Some of my fondest memories are from the times I gigged with some of these bands that we just discussed. So if you're thinking about learning a music instrument, if you're young and you want to play the guitar, the drums, the keys, or learn to sing or whatever, or even if you're old, it doesn't really matter. Just do it. I promise you, you'll create some amazing memories and you'll never regret learning a musical instrument. Fuck! Shit. Fuck, I'm stuck. There we go. Oh, fucking hell. Oh! And I was the youngest guy in the band and therefore the butt of all of the practical jokes. I still remember. So the next band I played with was not Hazel O'Connor, but we sung one of her fucking hell. We played hits of the 80s that everybody had forgotten, like Madness, Squeeze, The Jam. But there are three things that were quite remarkable about this. I left the band, and shortly after, they disbanded completely. I don't think the events were connected in any way. For example, I remember after a gig,
Woman goes to the funeral directors, says, my husband's died, but he's wearing a black suit and he must wear a blue suit for the funeral. So she gives the funeral director a blank check. She says, money's no object, I want the best blue suit you can get. Comes the day of the funeral, he's in his open coffin with an Italian-made, double-breasted, gorgeous, perfectly fitted, pristine blue suit. She said, oh, that's lovely. After the funeral, she said, I'm so happy. She said, how much was the suit? Funeral director says, well, actually, it was nothing. It was free, madam. She says, why was that? He said, well, just after the madam walked out of the funeral parlour last week, another lady walked in. Unfortunately, her husband had also died, but he was wearing a blue suit, and she wished him to be dressed in black. So I switched the heads.